B4B TV. Real people, real stories, real Bradford.
Welcome to Bradford, the City of Culture 2025. You are listening to and watching the Bradford for Better B4B TV City of Culture show, the show that shines a light on the people, the places, and the communities that have made Bradford the City of Culture for 2025. And today we have got another very special guest. This is only the second episode that we've done. So I hope you enjoyed the first episode. And if you have any comments, any sort of guests that you think we should have on the show, or anything you want to say about the shows, please let us know in the comments. And hopefully we can entertain, inform, inspire, and empower people of Bradford and make you proud of Bradford. So we are going to be talking today to somebody very special doing a lot of good work in Bradford, in the cultural sector as well as other sectors. So we have today a very special guest, Dionne Hood from Bradford Libraries. Welcome, Dionne, to the show. How are you today?
Hi, I'm really pleased to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us. And as I said earlier, you are the second guest that we've got on. So thank you very much for coming along.
Oh, I'm honoured. It's really good.
So how are you feeling today, and what's going on in your world today?
What's going on in my world today? Well, I'm in Keighley Library today because I kind of work over 29 libraries, but I'm based in Keighley, which is obviously part of the Bradford district. And today I've been doing a lot of catching up and preparing for our 150th birthday party, which is on Thursday.
Excellent. Well, we'll be talking about that and other things. So just a bit of background to Dionne. Dionne, also known as Dee, is a true Bradfordian, born and bred in Bradford, and has worked at the Bradford and Keighley colleges as a lecturer over the years, and is currently working in Bradford Libraries. Please tell us, Dee, what's your role at the libraries and what do you do?
I'm a development officer, initially for reading and stock. So that's anything to do with reading, literature. It could be ESOL, it could be author events, all sorts of things. But because we're trying to implement a new library model, I'm also involved in lots of other things at the moment. So we have a very, I don't know if you know, but libraries have 5 offers, and one of their offers is health. So I've been, I'm kind of leading on the health offer at the moment because we're part funded by public health. So my role has kind of grown in different directions, but I still do lots of author events, creative writing. I promote books and reading, mainly for adults. But it's a fantastic job. It's really full of variety.
Excellent. So online, when I was snooping around trying to get some information on it, there was a quote that said, "Lover of art, words, and many sorts of creative nonsense." So, what does that mean? Because I take it you've got an arts background.
I do. My degree was in 3D design ceramics, and I did ceramic sculpture for a very long time, and I worked as an art and design lecturer for a long time, but I was made redundant, and then I moved into libraries, and I've always enjoyed reading as well. So literature and reading is really important to me, and because of my background in art and education and an interest in reading, I think I'm perfect for libraries, because I see libraries as being this place where you can be creative, where you can get information, where you can get help with your reading, where you can just read for pleasure. So I kind of think I'm pretty good. I've got a pretty good background for all those things. And I think creativity is really important for people as well.
Excellent. So it's just past maybe 2 weeks now, today in fact, that we were announced as the City of Culture 2025. Mm-hmm. So what does being the City of Culture 2025 mean to you personally as an artist with the background that you have, but also for Bradford Libraries?
Yeah, I mean, I'm from Bradford. All my family grew up in and around Bradford, going back generations. I'm very fond of Bradford. I love Bradford. I think it's a fantastic city, and it's had a lot of bad press. And it's like people have only ever focused on the negative aspects, which I think there's negative in every city. But I love Bradford. I think it's one of the most I think it's quite a warm place, and I think and obviously it's culturally diverse, and I think that's absolutely fantastic. And I think it's just be really nice for the city to start with, to have that light shone on us and people to see the positive things that goes on in Bradford. We've got loads of fantastic stuff that's been going on for years, but it's kind of kept quite quiet and we just get on with it. And I just think it'll just be fantastic for Bradford to kind of go, hey, look at us, you know, we're pretty special. And we've got an amazing history, you know, the history of the city, how it's grown, and people have come from all over the world, you know, to work and live here. And I just think that's something that should be celebrated as well. And I'm hoping that the City of Culture will help to sort of shine a light on that. For me as an artist, I just think it's great. I'm a massive fan of anything to do with creativity or cultural activity. So I'll just want to be involved anyway. I don't have that ego to think how it's going to help me. I kind of think as an artist, we should be sharing and allowing others to take part as well. And for the library service, I think it'd be fantastic for the library service, because I think we are in every community across Bradford. There's 29 libraries and we're in every community, and we are that safe, trusted, valued space. And sometimes we're the only place where people can take part in cultural activity, and we give people the confidence to take part in cultural activity as well. And I think we will be a perfect kind of conduit for everything that's happening, and we can let people know about it. The judges, not the judges, but the people running 2025 asked me what I'd like for libraries, and I said I wanted the opportunity for everyone in every community to take part. I didn't want it just to be city centre, and I kind of felt libraries could really, really help with that.
Absolutely, and that's exactly what we at Radford for Better discussed as well with the bid team at the time, to say that this should be an inclusive bid and an inclusive journey for everybody in all communities. Yeah. And you're absolutely right, libraries are everywhere in every community. And we've had conversations at events when we've met at the library, and you always use the term safe space. I really like that term because it really encompasses that, where you don't need to pay anything, you don't need to be of a certain background or qualification, or it is very, you know, it's very rare now in this day and age that you get these sort of spaces where you can just walk in and sit down and just relax and learn and watch things and do things and meet people. And these are dwindling institutions, unfortunately.
They are.
So it's really important to have libraries, and you're a great ambassador for them. So let's let's talk about what's going on with libraries over the years, because I personally grew up, you know, loving the Central Library in town, the big tower block next to the Odeon, and we used to go as a group of friends and just go to the top floor, and you could see it was like an observatory looking across the town centre. And it always felt like a good place to relax, just to pick up a book, sit down. But unfortunately, over the years, libraries have closed down in Bradford and in other cities all across the country. And they seem to be becoming kind of an endangered species as such. Why is that?
Well, it's kind of political, and it's about money, basically. I think. I mean, society has changed, but with the government taking a lot of funding away from councils, local authorities, often the first things to be cut are things like libraries, because obviously, you know, you've got to look after your social care, you've got to look after your schools, you know, money always has to be available for those things. So libraries often are the sort of things that get cut. But there's also perception. People think that, oh, everything's online now, which is not really the case. People still read, people still want those places to go to. And since we've had COVID, I think especially we've realised that people desperately need that kind of, like I say, that safe, free space where they can go into, where they can get in the information they need, they can take part in activities, they can take a book out, they can meet other people. And those sorts of things are really, I think they've come to the forefront now since COVID, because they really do help with people's mental health, you know, the social isolation, all that kind of things. But I think the problem with libraries is that the people who need them the most often are not the people who can shout the loudest, who don't have the voices. You know, we do a lot of work with young families and children and women and older people. And they're often the people who don't know how to say, hang on a minute, I really need my library. Whereas the people who make the decisions tend to be of a certain demographic. You know, they're often wealthier, they don't need their library as much as a lot of people do. So they make a decision based on what they think a library is. And I think our problem is, it's our problem. We have got to get the message out about libraries and about how important they are. And the problem we have is we've never had a marketing budget. We never marketed. We didn't have to market libraries in the past because they were just there in your community. But now we've got to kind of get on board with, you know, we've got to modernise. We are online. We're already online. We're already doing ebooks. We're already doing amazing things online. But we've got to actually start promoting ourselves and shouting about ourselves. And that's not what librarians typically are used to doing.
Yeah. It's very interesting. Is the analogies. If you don't evolve, you become extinct as such.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same with many industries, and especially libraries. And how do you evolve as an institution? Because you like you say, you've never needed to promote yourself. It's never been a business. If it was a private sector business, I suppose that it would be huge investment in the social media, in the sort of publicity. And again, sometimes it takes something like a pandemic for people to realize what they've missed. And we can, as a society, take things for granted until it's no longer there. And I see it all over the place where I work, and I see it in where I live. The local library closed, and then it's something that's missing from the community. And once it's gone, it's gone. To build that back up again and bring it back, it's not going to happen. So the key is, how do we make them survive and thrive? And what sort of advice do you have for people out there that might be facing that closure, or you know, to kind of promote and help libraries? What can people do?
I think what we're doing, because we're trying to devise a new library service model, which is, and I'm leading on the pilot, which is going to be Keighley Library. There's 3 pilots: Ollerton, Keighley and Wibsey. And what we're doing is we are trying to work a lot more with partners. We're asking partners, other organisations in the area, other community groups, charities, what would they like from our library? We've got them on our working group. So we have people from the NHS, we have people from Keighley Healthy Living, certain charities, cultural organisations, and they helping us sort of look at the library service and look at the library. And we're also working with the community, very much finding out, what do people want from their library? You know, what sort of things do they need? I mean, we've got lots of statistics we can always go on about what people use and, you know, what do they take part in, because we gather numbers all the time. But what we need to do is actually talk to people. So we've been doing a lot of that. So I think we're calling it the tailored offer. So we're tailoring each library to its community. And I think it's going to take time. But I think it's the best way. It's like stepping back, looking at what we do, looking at our offer, and also looking at what else can we do with that, and what else do people want from their library. And like we've started doing things like we have a social workers come in and do a pop-up. Now that's really useful for people. They know where to go see a social worker now. They can come into the library. So it's just things like that. We have a few things like that starting to come on board. We're starting to run some more courses from the library because we've got spaces. So I think it's a combination of what we need to do to adapt. What's the phrase? Adapt or die. And it's also that other organisations are going, oh, hang on a minute, the library could be really useful for us to reach people, because that's what we do. We reach people and we're in every community. So I think it's quite exciting. I can see positive growth out of it, especially in Bradford. And I think as we go towards 2025, I think we'll be, pretty much on our way to kind of making libraries seem and important again.
I mean, I can see huge potential, and we've discussed this previously, and we've kind of, as Bradford for Better, done events at the Central Library, and events that you wouldn't expect in a library, like the Black History Month celebrations, Afro-Caribbean Awards. I know you're doing poetry events and design event as well. So, but from my background in healthcare, we've discussed potentially having libraries as a platform for health and well-being, because as you say, the safe spaces, and in themselves, books and creativity have an impact on well-being. We have learned that in the pandemic, but more practical in the sense that they are in the old money, like community centers where people can go and feel safe and turn up and talk about mental health, talk about physical health, diabetes, cholesterol, life support, and we do have things planned for the libraries. And I find it fascinating where this is the next, to me, an evolution and quite an innovation where libraries can have that part to play for communities, where they can actually be a proactive health promotion location in such ways. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, libraries across the UK have always had a health offer, which is where they would find information. Like we have, I don't know if you've heard of them, we have things called books on prescription, which they were put together with the NHS and a few other organisations. They're kind of like self-help books. So it's like overcoming anxiety, that kind of thing. And they're kind of workbooks that you work through. So you would use them in combination with maybe seeing your GP or a therapist or whatever, or they might be just something you might want to look at yourself without actually going to see anyone about. So we've always had those, and we've always had information on conditions, and we try and keep up to date with all that information. Plus we have a relationship with the health library at the, what's it called, the big hospital, Bradford Royal Infirmary. I keep in contact with their library staff because they're very much on top of what sort of new materials out there. So we've always had material, but and we've always recognised things like reading as being really good for your mental health, and also getting together. If you join a reading group, join an Itinata group, that's always really good for your mental health as well. But we also, like you were saying, it could be a good place to come for other aspects of your health. We want to look at that holistic approach, don't we? Yeah. And I just think that's really exciting. And also it's just be like, people could then just know where to go. Do you know what I mean? We just know where to go. So if there might be something going on in the library to do with diabetes, we might be able to signpost you to somewhere or some information. And because we're an information service, to me, it just feels like it's just a natural thing to do. And like I said, we are part funded now by Public Health. So they're very keen on certain aspects of, they give us 4 themes that they would like us to deliver on. So that's poverty, social isolation, school readiness, and job readiness. So they're all things that we know in libraries that we can do and help address. But then we work really closely with them to sort of think about what else we could be doing.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, again, from my experience, people are always saying they can't get an appointment to see their GP, or they can never get, which may or may not be the case. But if we have that relationship with libraries, GPs, and clinics, that potentially becomes an avenue of what we call primary prevention and health promotion in some ways, and building that bridge between the sort of mind and body and sort of well-being and physical health. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be huge. So yeah. Excellent. So
it's about working together, isn't it? I think there's a lot more, like I said, since COVID, I think it's better that we all work together to try and do as much as we can, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, let's talk about the celebrations this year. 150 years, Bradford Libraries. So I take it was the first library, the official free library in Bradford on Tyrrell Street, that marks the beginning, that officially is the birth of libraries in Bradford. Is that right?
Yeah. Apparently we were one of the first in the country to take it up as well. So that was in 1872, in June 1872. So again, Bradford leading the way, as they did with many things. So yeah, it's quite exciting, really, and it's something to really be proud of.
Yeah, little known facts, aren't they? I mean, it's not common knowledge, but I suppose at that time in history, Bradford was much further ahead than it is now economically. It was kind of center of one of the centers of the world for commerce and the industry that we had in the industrial age. And it kind of makes sense that they'd be leading on something of this nature, because they had the population, they had the workforce. And I suppose, I think at that time it was at the Carnegie Foundation, the charitable foundation that used to promote free libraries up and down the country. So I think, I don't know if it was a Carnegie Foundation, but it was one of those. We had some of those in Bradford at the time.
Yeah, we've got a few Carnegie libraries. In fact, Keighley Library, where I am now, is the first Carnegie library in England. Wow. So, again, Bradford District leading the way. And I think we've got one or two other Carnegie libraries in and around Bradford as well. Yeah. They're usually quite beautiful old buildings.
Yeah, excellent. So tell us, what can we expect with these celebrations? What's going on? What are are there events, are there things planned? What's going on with it all?
Well, we're having a special birthday party this coming Thursday. So that'll be just for for ex-staff, people who've supported us. I believe yourself's coming, and sort of high ups in the council, and portfolio holders and councillors and Lord Mayors, all that kind of thing. But we're also, just as the year progresses, we'll just be doing lots of exciting things, and we've got articles in the newspaper going in every month about different aspects of the library service over the years. So it's just going to be really nice. And we've got little exhibitions and displays going on. And we're looking for people to give us their memories as well. So people can just email in and let us know about what they think about libraries, when they first went into libraries, because everyone's got a story, haven't they, about what they've done in a library. Absolutely.
And I think, again, going back to the survival element and thriving, a lot of it's to do with the youth. It's kind of promoting it to that generation now. I mean, we're a city of youth. And I personally, we go as a family at least twice a week. With my girls are all under 5, and they actually look forward to it, and it's kind of a fun place for them. And you wouldn't think that, really, kids to go in a library and find it fun. It's like more exciting than a play center for them.
So, that's really nice.
So I'm trying to kind of instill that at this age, and you think that passion and that love for libraries and books, it starts from that age. And if they have that connection and relationship with their local library, I mean, it's the same library I went to, 35 years ago. It's exactly it's different. They've expanded it quite a bit. It's the Manningham Library, Carlisle Road, which is again one of the oldest. I think it was celebrating 100 years or something recently.
It did.
And it was where I went as a kid, growing up. It was our spot, and now seeing that again in my kids, it's kind of handing over to the next generation, kind of thing. So I hope we can promote it, and Bradford for Better are hoping to work with Bradford Libraries and kind of promote a lot more and
Great.
get it to the youth, hopefully. And this is
Yeah.
part of it, having you on the show and talking about it, because we don't always consider libraries to be places of culture or places of art or places of health and well-being, but they are. But
They are. Yeah, they are.
I mean, a lot of people, like, again, a question, it's a kind of a devil's advocate, but a lot of the younger population now say, well, we've got the Kindle and we've got the online access and you can download books. Why do we need physical books, and why do we need a library?
Yeah, well, what we find is obviously young children like books. Young children really like, they start, don't they, from being a toddler, and you read them a picture book and they love that. That's that sort of when a parent reads to a child or a carer reads to a child, it's that there's a closeness, there's a joining, there's a bonding, there's exploring stories, and it develops language. So we all know there's really important things about very young children. And at primary school as well, they tend to still like storybooks, and they still like to come in. Where we lose them is that kind of what I call the in-between age. It's that sort of early teens. Yeah, they tend to turn away from the library then, but we then seem to get them back again when they're doing their revision. Yeah. So they come back, they know that space is there. Like at the moment, this library here is full of young people doing their revision. And it's quite nice. It's like they remembered that it's this space that you could just go to, and they get the laptops out and they start sitting there, and then they'll go look at the books as well, So yeah, I mean, I think what we probably need to do is get a panel of young people and kind of maybe ask them, what do they see? What do they want to happen in the library? Yeah. I know what we have been asked for. They like creative things. They love to come and do creative writing. They love to come and do some art stuff. So that's something that we do and we have done. But they also want a space where they can discuss aspects of their life. Do you know what I mean? Things that are bothering them. So that's something we don't quite know how we would do that, but we have been sort of asked as like, could the library support this? A space for young people to come and talk to each other or other people about, what's bothering them.
Let's talk about the Literature Festival, Bradford Literature Festival, which is on its way next week, I think, or the week after it's starting, 24th of June. Mm-hmm. What's the impact that the Literature Festival has had on Bradford libraries and literature and reading generally in Bradford, do you think?
I think it's helped to shine a spotlight on Bradford again, and because it's one of the most sort of culturally diverse festivals, it's probably shone a light on different authors and different types of books that don't often get into the mainstream. So I think that's one of the main things, and it's just really good. But I think over the years it's just really built up. Bradford Literature Festival, lots of people know about it now, and lots of people come from outside Bradford to it. So it's almost like a little precursor to 2025, isn't it? People have started to kind of come and see what's on in Bradford because of the Literature Festival.
Yeah, it's a huge sense of pride because it is one of the best literature festivals in the country. And unfortunately, like you said, there's a lot of, in Bradford, there's a lot of negativity. And there is the data there as well to talk about in terms of the deprivation, in terms of literature, in terms of sort of achievements for people in education. And I think the Literature Festival and Bradford Libraries can have a huge part to play in that, by lifting those perceptions and actually making changes, positive changes in literature and in the achievements that people think they can get to.
Yeah, it's true. It's like I always tell this story, and this is just one example. I was doing a workshop. We were running a workshop on how to read poetry aloud. So read your own poetry aloud. And it was in the library. And this woman came in and she sort of sidled in and she sat at the back. And she took part in the workshop, but she didn't say very much. And then she said, could I have a go at reading my poem out loud in front of these other people? And we said, yes, of course you can. but she stood there like this, shaking. She had a piece of paper in her hand and she was just shaking, and she read her poem. And it was great. And I spoke to her at the end, and it turned out she'd been writing poetry since she was a little girl. She'd been in care. She'd been a heroin addict. Her own children were in care. She'd been in some terrible situations, but she'd always written poetry. Now, coming to the library, she just saw the poster and it said, come to this work, about the workshop. And she said, I came to this workshop because it was on in the library. Yeah. And that to me is what is important. She wouldn't have gone somewhere else. She wouldn't have gone to Waterstones. She wouldn't have gone to somewhere in the city centre, but she came to that in the library. So for me, just to hit that one person that day who would never go to something is an example of what we do and how we can, really reach people and have the patience to reach people.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, really inspiring. Now, the next stage is some more questions about you, Dionne, D, and we call it the quick fire round. So I'll ask you a question. Just give us a one-word answer if you can.
Okay.
And put you on the spot. So tell us, as you're an artist, who's your favorite artist?
I've got hundreds. Craig Aitchison.
Okay. Not David Hockney.
Oh, sorry, I should say David Hockney. David Hockney.
It's interesting. This is not going to be a quick fire. You're on the there's a website, Not Only Hockney.
Oh, not just Hockney, yeah.
Not just Hockney, sorry, yeah. And it focuses on other people like yourself who are artists and creative people in Bradford. I found that website interesting that they have to specify that it's not just about Hockney in Bradford and giving people.
Yeah, I don't think it's meant in a kind of negative way. I think it's meant like, oh look, Bradford's got lots of other artists as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tell us, which is your favourite library in Bradford?
I can't do that because
choosing between your kids.
There's different libraries that have different things about them. I like Keighley because it's big and I love the people in the area of Keighley and they fully support the library. So I would have to say Keighley, for now, but they're all wonderful.
Yeah. This could be a difficult one as well because there's literally millions. What's your favourite book? You can divide up into genres if you want.
Well, I'll tell you, it's a strange one, is this one, but I don't know if you've heard of Albert Camus' The Plague. It's set in Tangier and it's about the plague when it arrived in Tangier. And it's just such a good book, and it's kind of set in the 40s and 50s, or 40s, 50s, something like that. And it's as if a plague arrived in this town, and it's kind of and it's sort of narrated by this doctor, and it's just really interesting. It's like how the town dealt with the plague, and it sounds horrible, but it's actually a really, really good book. It's a really good book. Yeah.
I guess it would be relevant with the pandemic and just seeing that kind of perspective as well, possibly.
Yeah, but I read it years ago, so yeah, before the pandemic. But yeah, it was interesting.
What's your favourite place in Bradford?
Oh, there's lots, isn't there? I'm a big fan of countryside. I like the parks. I like some of the parks as well. I like, Cliff Castle Park, and I like the park at Cartwright Hall. But I also like the countryside that surrounds Bradford as well. But there's so many. It depends what mood you're in, doesn't it? Sometimes you quite like to go somewhere bustly and busy as well. So yeah.
Absolutely. What is the best advice you've ever been given? And
best advice. The best advice I was ever given was an old art college lecturer who said to me, never have regrets, because you made a decision at the time. Because you made that decision at the time, it was the right decision. So you should never look back and have regrets. So I always try and do that.
If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Time travel. I'd go back in time.
Where would you go?
anyway, I'm really interested in history and the history of a place. So I just like to see what things were really like, you know, what it was like here, middle of Bradford, where my family lived, all that kind of thing. Yeah.
Interesting to say, go back in time. You won't go to the future.
No.
No.
No, I think just to be able to travel back in time, things that have already happened.
What's the best thing about Bradford?
Its resilience, its people, and its resilience, and that positivity, you know, often in the face of all kinds of negativity, I think. Yeah.
With Bradford for Better, obviously our mission, our vision is to make Bradford better, but everybody's definition of better is different, depending on what their needs are, their circumstances, and what they see from their worldview. So if there was one thing that you could change or do to make Bradford better, what would it be?
It's quite big, really, but I would like everyone to have equality of opportunity for everything, because there are certain areas of Bradford and people who feel disenfranchised, and don't feel like they belong. And I think I would like to, you know, properly level up, if you like, properly kind of give everyone opportunities.
And finally, what's going on with you in the near future in Bradford Libraries, and you personally? What's on the horizon?
It's exciting in the library service. We've got the summer reading challenge coming up for children. We've got the Story Trails project with the BBC, so that's like a really exciting project. We're one of the few chosen to take part in that, which is a virtual reality thing about the stories of Bradford. And lots of stuff happening, lots of stuff coming up. So it's all good, it's all positive. And me personally, I'm exhibiting my artwork and I'm looking forward to a holiday.
Excellent. Is there any final thoughts, final words for those listening out in the communities, people of Bradford, you know, to inspire people, empower them, to make them feel proud of this city? Any words of wisdom, any encouragement?
Be kind to each other, join your local library, and watch out for the amazing work that Bradford for Better do.
Thank you very much. So, Dionne Hood, it's been excellent having you on the show. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And I hope you have enjoyed it.
I have.
And we're looking forward to making libraries part of the community and making them better, hopefully, with your support.
Great.
Before I forget, I always forget this, and we're only on the second episode. 1 second.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, that's fab. I shall save that.
Certificate of Appreciation from us at Bradford for Better, because you are making Bradford better, definitely. And it's a huge part in making Bradford better and making Bradford a city of culture, because we wouldn't have done it without Bradford Libraries.
No, that's
I think libraries play a huge, unbelievable part, and they will continue to play a huge part in making Bradford better in the future generations.
Yeah.
So watch this space and watch Dee deliver, make Bradford better. So thank you very much once again. And for all our viewers out there, this is the second episode. Please do like, subscribe, share this with other people, give us ideas on what you think and what it looks like to you. And if you have ideas of who you'd want on the show as well, people making a difference in Bradford, people making Bradford better in their own way, we'd love to have them on the show and promote their work and inform people of what goes on in Bradford. So thank you very much. Nice seeing you, and you take care. Bye-bye.
You've been watching B4B TV. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And join us next time for another episode.